myself, help me out. Have my bed, then you let go. I'm fighting with that too. I'm standing alone. Just like that, you left me cold. I guess at the end of the day, it's just me and my phone.
Welcome back to Queen's Mindset. If this is your first time joining us, welcome, 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 welcome. We are super excited to have you in the room because guess what? We are on season 5 of Battered Bruised, Not Broken. Listen to me. I keep telling you that it just keeps getting better and better. We keep having powerful women sharing powerful stories. And tonight is like none other because we have a special lady in the room and I can't wait to introduce her to you. But before we go any further, if you have not done this already, I want you to go right ahead and just hit that subscribe button just down below and make sure that you are subscribed to this channel so that you can be kept abreast of every video. All right, so let's get started. Welcome, Dr. Rhonda. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you. Thank you so much for having me on the show today. It's an honor to be here.
Awesome, awesome. And you are most welcome. And to you guys who've been watching us, you know that this is not her first time here. She's been here before, and we are super excited to have her yet again because she has another powerful story to share, right? And I know you are wondering, what is her story? But hold a minute. We're going to let her tell you a little bit about who she is and what she does. So tell us a little bit about you, Dr. Rhonda. Who are you and what do you do?
Oh, I would love to. So, I'm an international keynote speaker. I'm a best-selling author, and I am considered a leading authority on mental health and advocacy. And what I do is I'm the CEO of RMW Global Enterprises, and I train individuals and organizations worldwide to create open, inclusive, and supportive cultures about mental health so that people can be equipped to shatter mental health stigmas and embrace compassion, awareness, knowledge, and acceptance. So basically, I encourage people to have open conversations. We are normalizing and destigmatizing mental health conversations, turning up the volume on those conversations.
I love that, especially the term that you use, turning up the volume on those conversations. That is amazing because we don't talk about it enough. We don't. We don't. I mean, we've gotten better and we're grateful for that, but we still can do much better. So now you've shared a little bit about yourself. I know you have a story like we all do. We have many stories, but I would like you to tell us, where did it all started for you?
Wow, that's a great question. And so let me start by saying that first of all, again, I want to just thank you for inviting me back to the show. It's an honor to be back here sharing with your amazing audience. But one of the things that I think your audience might be able to relate to is that, you know what, we all go through things. We all have challenges in our lives. We all have difficulties. We all have, some struggles we might call them. Some people say trials and tribulations, whatever we name it, whatever name we give it, right? We have all gone through some things, some hardships. And so for me, I can remember these types of difficulties pretty much all through life. Like I remember having some really difficult times growing up, growing up in a sort of dysfunctional household. I don't know how many of your guests can relate to that. But there were times when I would like look at other families and be like, man, this reminds me of the Brady Bunch or the Partridge Family, and then I would like go home to like, a lot of chaos and dysfunction that I knew was outside of the norm. So, there was a lot of verbal abuse, there was a lot of yelling and screaming, there was physical abuse, we would get yelled at, we would get beatings, and so, those types of things that, it affects those childhood adversities kind of affect you as you are growing up and maturing. They affect your mental health, they affect your emotional health, they affect your self-esteem. And what a lot of people don't realize is when things aren't dealt with in our childhood, they follow us into adulthood, right? And so you get to the point where you learn survival skills. And I think a lot of your guests might be able to relate to that. You become a person who learns how to just survive. I know how to push through because I suppress things so that I can continue to cope and move forward. So fast forward, what happened is, years later, I became a mother. I was so excited about being a mom, right? And I wanted to be the best mother. I wanted to be the best provider. I wanted to be the best protector. I wanted to be the best preparer of her future, right? And so my daughter became a mom to a daughter. And so like in her middle school, high school years, she began to have these struggles with mental health. And so at first I thought, maybe this is acute, maybe it's temporary, it'll probably go away, she'll grow out of it, she'll get over it. But it lasted. And so I remember being at a point, I had just started my third career path, my sort of third job, working in corporate America. And I remember, man, I was going to work every day. I was feeling like this overwhelmness. I feel like, man, I'm overworked. I'm undervalued. I'm stressed. I'm feeling symptoms of burnout. I was going in early, working through lunch, staying late, and still wasn't getting it done. And so here I was, corporate America, mother, balancing my personal and professional life. And I remember feeling like, man, there's a lot of dysfunction and chaos in this environment, similar to what I grew up with. Like I said, what you don't deal with in your childhood follows you into your adulthood. And so I had this demanding corporate career. I'm raising a teenage daughter. When she began to show signs of symptoms, right, of mental health, depression and anxiety and things of that nature, I said, okay, this is a challenging time because I'm trying to meet the demands at work and I'm also trying to meet these demands at home. And so I think when I began to get help for her, we had to go as a family to get, to talk to therapy to figure out how we can best support her. And I think my breaking point probably came, Kamisha, when the therapist said, if you don't slow down, if you don't take time and step back and focus on your mental health, what's going to happen is you're going to have a breakdown. You're going to have a nervous breakdown. And I remember at that point thinking, wait, what? That's not me. That can't happen. So let me give you a little bit of a picture. I'm in his office. I'm in a suit, Kamisha. I'm in high heels. I have on like my favorite necklace, and I have on my favorite red lipstick, Max Ruby Woo Red. Some of you ladies might know about that. And so I say that because a lot of people don't realize that mental health has different faces. When we think about somebody with maybe, might be experiencing mental health symptoms, right? We think about somebody that they show it externally. You know what I mean? They might look down. They might look like maybe they're depressed. They might look withdrawn. They might appear isolated. They might even have, signs of nervousness. But when people looked at me, no one ever said, I think she has mental health symptoms. No one would ever say that because on the external, I was all put together. But when you're dealing with a person, a professional who's like, hey, I see this every day, you corporate figures walk in here thinking you can fool me and you can't. Not only that, but knowing the symptoms of doing too much, of taking on too much. Right? And we wear it as a badge almost. We're like, yes, look at how much I can handle. Look at how much I can take on. Look at how much I can juggle, to the point where when it is overwhelming, when we do feel stress, when we feel like we are headed towards burnout, we don't say anything. That's why I said we need to normalize coming forward and saying, I'm not okay today. I need some time. And so for me, Kamisha, the fear was, I don't want to look bad. I don't want to appear weak. Do you know how great it makes me feel when I can appear strong, in control, and in charge? When I step outside of that and I have to say, this is hard, it's getting overwhelming, I'm feeling burned out, I'm stressed, I'm trying to manage this and I'm trying to manage home, and it's not working, something has to give. I felt like I was going to be weak. Not only that, I was in an environment where there weren't many people who looked like me. There weren't many women, and there certainly weren't many women of color. And so I felt like I fought so hard to get to that place, that table. And I was like, I'm finally here. Whew. And so I felt like I had to prove I belonged there. I felt like I had to do extra work and extra hours and extra tasks and appear to, looking good in front of them, because I felt like I had to prove my worth to those people. And so what began to happen is when my therapist said, hey, I think you are at a point, you're at this breaking point. Listen, if you don't stop, slow down, and step back, you're going to have a nervous breakdown. I know what I'm looking at. You are not fooling me. I've been doing this for a long time. So I remember thinking that day, a nervous breakdown doesn't go with my outfit today. That's just not going to be a good look for me. So I'm going to take your advice, So I heeded his warning. And I said, you know what? I'm going to prioritize my mental health. I'm going to take some time. I'm going to continue to do talk therapy. I'm going to learn about mental health symptoms. I'm going to learn how to relax and do self-care and put myself first so that I can model what it's supposed to be like for my family. So once that happened, and we began to do the work, we talked about the depression, we talked about the anxiety, we talked about the PTSD. Most importantly, we talked about the childhood traumas that I had experienced. Now, a lot of people might say, all right, you're a grown woman, you're a mom, you have a daughter, you have a corporate career. Why are you going back to childhood trauma? Why is that important? You're an adult. It's over. It's in the past. Leave it there. Push it under the rug and keep moving. Well, it doesn't always work that way. It's so important to heal, to heal from your past hurts and pains. And so, yeah, those were just a few of the adversities that I had to sort of break down, Kamisha. I had to, I experienced a lot of loss. I had lost my mother I was like 18, 19. I had raised 3 siblings at 18 and 19 years old. Plus I had my daughter. I'm a single person taking care of all of these people. A broken relationship, obviously, with my daughter. So all of these loss episodes and experiences of loss that I had to go through. But the most important thing I had to deal with was the childhood trauma. Because if you want to understand where you are, your behaviors, how you are as a mom, when you heal from those things, when you begin to break down those things, the pieces start to fit together. And once you heal, you'll see you will become a better person for you. Feel like you are lighter. You become a better mother. You become a better sibling. You even make better integrity-based decisions. You're a better business person. Your life is so much better, to the point where you feel like, I understand, you're more forgiving. You can kind of let go of the past. You don't have to hold on to it. You become healthier. So many benefits to healing from past hurts and pains. And so when I began to break those down, I realized, wow, okay, I'm going to be this overcomer. I can get past those things. I don't have to hold them in anymore. I don't have to pretend like they didn't happen or didn't exist. I can honor what happened, but I don't have to let it hold me back, keep me a prisoner. And so, a lot of people are surprised to learn that I had experienced different forms of abuse, because they're like, well, not only do you not look like you have mental health symptoms, but you don't look like you've been through these things. And yes, some people do wear things externally, but we all know there are people, there are probably many of your listeners, Kamisha, who we know how to wear that rehearsed look, right? But we are either going through things or we've gone through things and we've just learned to wear the look of, but I'm okay, I'm fine. I bet you 90% of the time when people say, how are you doing? We respond with, I'm good or I'm fine, even when we're not. Even when we're hiding emotional pain, even when things are not good at home, when things are not good at the job, when our finances are wrecked, our relationships are in turmoil, we will still say fine because a lot of us don't want people to know what's really going on.
Yeah.
But yeah, when we begin to get honest with ourselves, right? And we begin to work through those things, for me, I felt like, well, I could always wear makeup. I can always dress up in a suit. I can successfully hide my pain. There's no issue about that. But what I realized I needed to be not committed to always looking good on the outside. I feel like I needed to be committed to healing on the inside. And so I was committed to doing the hard work. And through that work, I felt this amazing empowerment that I wanted to be able to help other people go through the same. And so through my faith, through an amazing amount of courage, I was like, okay, let me see how many lives I can touch by sharing my story transparently about mental health advocacy, about healing from past hurts and pains, about stepping outside of those secrets and stepping outside of the silence and the struggles and the stigma that many of us experience from the past, stepping away from that and just, like I said, turning up the volume, being able to have these open conversations about mental health, about healing, and things of that nature. So for me, I felt like me doing that, we always talk about your gifts will make room for you. And I feel like that's what it's done for me. Taking those painful moments, God has used it for me to be able to minister alongside some amazing people and influential people. I'm able to, I've been to I went to 3 countries last year to be able to share my story, which has been an amazing experience. And through it all, it's been my faith. God continues to use me in ways I never imagined. And not only have I feel like I found my voice, I get to be a voice for other people, but this is a big part of my purpose. Like I said, those pieces begin to fit together and you kind of understand a little bit more about how adversities can work for the better in your life. And so being able to travel, openly share my mental health journey through not only speaking, but also writing and advocating for mental health has just been an amazing experience. Not only that, but when we do good, the Bible talks about how we save ourselves and our hearers, but my daughter is doing a lot better with managing her mental health. Not that she's cured, but she manages it so much better. She reached her 21st birthday. She graduated from college, her second degree, which has been amazing. And she also shares her story. And let me tell you, teenagers are the main ones who are very silent about what they're going through. But when they see her speaking so openly about depression and anxiety and struggles with mental health, they lean in and listen. So she's also a mental health speaker and an author and an advocate as well. So that's my story.
And that's really amazing. So you said quite a lot. So I want to just go back to something, but you kind of touched on it there in terms of your daughter actually wanting to share her story. Because my question was, how did she feel about you sharing? Because it's still her story is still part of your story because you guys are connected. But when you started to talk about it, how did she feel about that?
Right. So first of all, always get her permission, just so you know, because a lot of people are like, does she not? I said, yes, she knows. She's fully supportive of what I do and what I share. I do make sure that she's okay with that. But she has been one of my biggest cheerleaders. I think she understands, when you're a teenager, you always feel like your mom or your parents are your worst enemies there, sometimes. But I think she is just in a much better place right now. I am in a much better place, even though she's grown and, has her own life and her own family. We're still close, but I'm still focused on the mission of being this mental health advocate. So even though our stories are closely connected, now that I know that she's in a better place, I can continue to, and that's all of my siblings. So I raised 3 siblings plus my daughter. Now that they're all adults, I can, focus. I've never had this experience before where it's just me. So I can focus on me and the mission and the assignment that God gave me, which has been amazing.
And you know what's so interesting? You said something there that it stood out to me. You said you raised 3 siblings plus your daughter. And you mentioned earlier about, that childhood trauma. Do you think always having to be the one who is the strongest, the one everybody looks up to, did you think that also added to your mental health, that break that you had as well?
Yeah, I think it added to the, so I realized that I have some of the things that sort of added to my mental health symptoms was this, and I think your audience will be able to relate to this, but I think many of us have this, we feel this obligation. I have to be strong no matter what. I have to be strong. I just have to be strong. And so I remember when our mother passed away, because I started taking care of my siblings when I was about 18 or 19 years old. So I'm talking about 1 or 2 years of college under my belt. I didn't have my daughter until about 10 years later. But when it was just me and my siblings, I remember feeling like not only that I had to be strong, but some of us have this, we feel this obligation to always serve and help other people. So I think those 2 things, always wanting to, nothing is wrong with being a giver or a server. But when you do it to the point where you feel like you're all constantly putting yourself and your needs last or on the back burner, serving and putting everyone before you, that's when it becomes an issue. Now, don't get me wrong. There are some appropriate instances where that is appropriate. If you have a child and your child is in need, then yes, you want to make sure that you are doing what's appropriate in that instance. But when you are constantly putting other people or other things before you, that is detrimental to your mental health. So some of the things that I learned in my household growing up, again, followed me into adulthood and affected me as I got older. And so, one of the things that I learned by going to, talk therapy and being open and going through this healing process, right? This emotional healing process is prioritizing my mental health, is, putting myself first. And that was odd because I wasn't used to putting myself first. I'm so used to looking out for other people. I'm used to looking out for making sure my brother and my sisters are okay, making sure they have what they need. And a lot of times we overcompensate. I felt like I overcompensate. We overcompensate and do more for people and for things to fill the void of what we didn't have in our childhood. Yeah.
That's correct. We do that a lot. We do that a lot. And I think that's because we still want to somehow, it's like we're trying to live through the eyes of that other individual. So we want to make sure they don't have to go through what we experienced, but at the same time, we are hoping to still be a part of their experience. So, if you guys are watching right now and you can definitely relate, just go ahead and drop some stuff in the comments. Let us know that you were enjoying this discussion here tonight. You're really taking away from Dr. Rhonda's story, because this is a very powerful story. Mental health is not something that we talk about so openly, especially persons of our, of our color and our race. We don't tend to sit and talk about those things at all. So my question for you now is, you said you went to your therapist and what he was sharing with you and so on. What gave you the courage to actually go to your therapist and actually be honest with yourself and say, you know what, I need help? What brought you there?
That's a great question. I'm so glad you asked that. I do think I was at a point in my life where after years of, again, remember I said that I was a survivor. I was a survivor. And so I felt like a lot of things had happened to me. I was experiencing a lot of things, and my survival tactic was just push it aside and keep going. But I think anybody who just keeps going all the time, when that is sort of your go-to thing to do, you do get burned out. You do get stressed. But, and for anybody who you don't necessarily have to be a parent, if you've just cared for a loved one, you feel this sense of helplessness when somebody is in pain or somebody needs something and you can't fix it. For me as a parent, obviously with my daughter, if my daughter is saying, I'm not doing well or I don't feel well, you want to feel like I got the remedy, let's, you have your list of things, whether it's a huge hug or, let's go do your favorite thing. And when your bag of tricks is empty and you've tried everything and nothing is working, you're like, wow, okay. I think I need some backup here. I think I need some support. I think I need some professional help. I had never really gone to therapy before outside of grief therapy. Like I said, I lost my mom. I lost both of my parents actually. And so outside of grief therapy, I never really had the opportunity to sit down. And I definitely think God is the ultimate healer. And he calls us to that point in our lives when we need to say, okay, you've been doing it your way for so long. I am going to put people in your path who can help you because I need you to be ready to go to this next level, but you can't do it with those years and years and years of baggage from your past. So I felt like he was calling me to go through that healing journey for sure. Mm-hmm.
Wow. And I love that you are transparent in sharing that because someone needs to hear that, sometimes we go through things, not sometimes, all the time. We go through things in life, not for ourselves, but it's for the next person. It's about us gaining the experience so that now we can help to teach someone else who is, in that situation, and we can help them to pull them out of it or stop them from getting into it. So it's very important that if you're listening here tonight, that you're taking notes, feel free to share this with everyone that don't assume that they may not be interested because we really don't know what people are dealing with. And when we are talking about mental health, there's so many persons that are depressed. When we check the suicide rates, it's really increasing, especially right here in Barbados. Before we'll hear about one
Wow.
a year, but now, in the year we've gone past, we've not even completed the year as yet, and the numbers are skyrocketing, every time. And they're not
Wow.
just older people, they're a mixture of persons that are doing it. You have the young, you have the old, you have the in between, and we don't know why they did it, but that I believe is all connected to their mental health, going through that sense of depression and not having anyone to talk to because you are so ashamed to even that you need help or to even say that this particular thing is bothering you, because people then begin to look upon you and they tend to say, well, that situation is so small. Why would you allow it to, to bring you down?
Yeah.
But the thing is, we all have various capacities. And it's so interesting. And like when you shared about how you were able at that age, you took up, nobody told you to do it, but you took that on. You helped to bring up your siblings, and then you had to deal with your household, and you were doing everything alone. So nobody really taught you how to be strong. You taught yourself that. You taught yourself that level of independence, and when you are so independent, sometimes it makes it hard for you to get help or ask for help from
That is
someone
true.
else. Yeah.
That is true.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, because I talked about, we talked about you have this obligation to be strong. You have this obligation to want to help others. And then I think another thing that your your listeners may be able to relate to is you have this obligation to suppress your feelings and your resistance to, you suppress your feelings because you're like, well, I just got to keep pushing. I don't have time to sit and deal with my feelings. I don't have time to be in my feelings. I don't have time to cry and be all emotional and nervous wreck. Nobody has time for that. I got work to do. I got laundry to do. I got to make the cookies for the bake sale. I got to go to cheerleading practice. We don't have time to sit and sulk in our emotions. And so, and then when you talk about the help, that's another one is we have this resistance to being vulnerable. We feel like, well, I can do it myself. I don't need any help. I don't need to ask for help. I don't need to say, because again, you like to look good on the outside, not wanting to look good, wanting to feel like you're in control and in charge and you can handle it. You don't want people to think that you're weak. Oh yeah, I'm strong. I got this. Oh, I got this. I got this. And so, we wear that, like I said, we wear that face. And so, yeah, I'm just, delighted to be able to share and be transparent because I feel like a lot of people can relate to that. Hey, I've been there. I know I've been there. I experienced that. And in most cases, it worked well for me, but it did get to the point where it was like, okay, this no more, no more, because now you're inauthentic. This isn't even the real you. This is you showing up with a fake, rehearsed persona of who you really are.
Yeah.
And some people talk about therapy like it's a dirty word. Man, that's therapy. That's for people who are, we have all these derogatory terms, but for me, man, that was one of the best decisions I made. I just call it my therapist, and just because I feel like I just need a boost. You need your batteries jumped. Amazing. Yeah.
So, I have to ask, do you think in your mental health journey, do you think that at any point did you battle with rejection? Was rejection part of what you experienced?
Rejection from you mean like other people?
Yeah, like say for example from like your family members or even from your daughter's father or like from anyone, just rejection in general.
Yeah, and I think that's common. I think that's part of the stigma, first of all. And I think that's a big reason why a lot of people don't speak up about what they're going through. They don't want to say that they're not okay or that they can't handle it or they need help, that resistance to being vulnerable or, feel like I'll have to be strong no matter what, looking good on the outside. It's because they don't want to be judged. They don't want to be judged. They don't want people to look down on them. And like you said, they don't want their rejection. And so for me, it wasn't only family. Even with me parenting my daughter, when I said, oh, you know what, my daughter's experiencing, some mental health symptoms, some depression and some anxiety, a lot of people attacked me like, well, it must be your parenting. it must be something that you're doing wrong. And it wasn't just family and it wasn't just a few friends, and I think there's also this misconception in the church. If we can just talk about that's like a whole nother show, but a lot of people have believe in a lot of myths and misconceptions. And I think a lot of people believe that if you are a Christian, you have a relationship with God and you're close with God, but you have mental health, there must be something wrong with your walk with God. There's something wrong with your prayer life. But you can be a person of faith. You can be a Christian and still experience mental health. As a matter of fact, this has made my walk with God stronger. And I'll tell you why. Because I think at first I questioned, why was this happening to me? Why am I experiencing this? What is going on? And, I learned, and if we're talking about adversities, I understand now. I didn't understand it then, but adversities fuel our growth and our greatness. And so I felt like, wow, I had this mental health journey. I am now on the other side of it. And I get to share my story and my experiences to help other people through speeches, through my advocacy work, through my writing, my books that I read about. And other people can connect to, people can relate to being a corporate professional. People can relate to being a mom. People can relate to this obligation to be strong or suppress emotions or, resistance to being vulnerable, needing to help others. People can relate to that. And so that's why I share my story. And so was the rejection there? Absolutely. But it was a result of stigma. And it was because a lot of people didn't educate themselves properly on what mental health is. And that let me just say, it can affect anyone at any time for any reason. Mental health does not discriminate. it affects people from the classroom to the boardroom, and it doesn't care about the square footage of your house, how many letters you have behind your name, how much money you have in your bank account. It doesn't care. It can affect anyone.
Yeah. And I love that. I love that you shared that there as well, because, my reason for asking the question, what I have found when I've spoken to several different persons who have experienced some form of mental health or, with dealing with depression and so on, is really, a lot of it was rooted with the rejection, whether it was from family or friends or, co-workers or, just around things that was happening around them, because the way how we have been created, God has created us with love. So we all want to be loved. We all want to feel loved. We all want to feel appreciated. We want to feel a sense of belonging. And whenever we can't seem to get that or feel that from who we're with or who we're around, we tend to retreat ourselves because we feel like, oh my goodness, like, okay, like you talked about the vulnerability, I shared that part of me with you, and immediately, instead of embracing that, you tore me down, you tear me down, you didn't build me up. So then people begin to shut down, and then that's what sends them into the depression state, and then that's where the mental health issues comes into play, because we have not addressed the root. So I hope you guys are already taking notes here and seeing how rooted this thing is, especially from your childhood trauma. And I know you may be thinking, well, I'm in my 40s, I'm in my 50s, this does not apply to me. But hello, if you take some time and you really reflect, you'll recognize, based on certain circumstances and situations that have been happening in your life, it's all connected. If you go back, you recognize it's really all connected. So we're coming very close to an end, but I have to ask this question. And I know you said you had the support of your therapist, but in that process, when you were dealing with, that mental health, with that, your mental health journey, and then also the mental health journey of your daughter, who was your physical support?
My physical support. And so let me say this. I can now say that God was with me the entire time, but he put angels in my path. Angels in the form, I made in unexpected blessings, people that I didn't expect to be on my side. And so I actually found a new church family. I had neighbors that I could that were very supportive of me and encouraged and helped me. And I met people through the, other resources like the support groups and the educational, mental health educational groups. So I met some of my peers, other people, other adults, other corporate professionals. That kind of became my anchor. So when I was going through these difficult times, it was easier to phone somebody or be around somebody who sort of understood, as opposed to the people who were giving me the rejection and didn't understand. And so, so that was really huge for me. I even made friends in other countries, who I'm still close to today. And so for what helped me is what I do for other people. What was very helpful, if you yourself are going through a mental health journey, or you want to support someone who's going through a mental health journey, and I think you touched on this already, I think one of the most important things you can do is to create a safe, confidential, non-judgment environment, because a person may already have feeling some type of way about what they're going through, and here they are ready to open up. But if they sense the slightest bit of stigma, judgment, rejection, or that you feel some kind of way, you're going to judge them or blame them even, or accuse them of not having closeness, they are going to retreat and shut down. And then it just stays there, and it can become, something that can be untreated. And so I think one of the best things we can do, in addition to being, a great listener, a great supporter, is to make sure we're creating those safe, confidential, non-judgment spaces, and maybe even helping the person maybe find the resources that they can get the help that they need.
Yeah,
Mhm.
that's amazing.
Mhm.
I love that advice. I love that. So at any point, did you feel like giving up, or did you feel like, oh my goodness, I can't do this anymore? I just wish I could go from here. At any point, did you feel that way?
Yeah, there were certainly times when I think I touched on this a little bit earlier. There were certainly times when I felt the feelings of why me? Why does so much bad and negativity happen to me? Why so much adversity and so much loss happen to me? Why so much pain and heartbreak? I was starting to feel like, well, maybe I just need to accept that this is just going to be the way my life is, because like I said, I had already had this difficult childhood that and then here I am, an adult ready to, have a better life, create a better lifestyle for myself. And I was like, and here it is again, it's back. So yeah, you do start to question, well, maybe I should just stop fighting and stop pushing and trying so hard, and just maybe I should just accept it. This is how it is. And you start to feel like there's no value to yourself or your life. You just feel like you just exist. I'm just here. Until you have that understanding again that a lot of those painful moments, those adversities that we go through are connected to our growth and our greatness. They have to happen. It's an inevitable part of life. We're going to go through things, right? Whether it's loss or, pain but those things, one, they awaken a sense of finding your purpose. Like I kept questioning the why, the why, the why. And you realize, well, okay, this is a big part of my purpose. I'm meant to go through the healing journey, and I'm also meant to help other people go through their healing journey. So I think it's important, Kamisha, not to let those experiences, not to let the confusion sort of cloud the clarity of the purpose that those adversities can serve in your life. They are meant to stretch us. They're meant to plant seeds. They're meant to take us to greater heights. Those things are meant to take us to a new level, a new season. And so even those most difficult experiences, they produce greater purpose. They leave seeds of defining our character, creating resilience, providing us with strength, or whatever characteristics and qualities we need for the next season of our life. And those seeds, they need to grow. So when we are going through those adversities, when we're navigating those detours, those diversions, the disruptions, and the difficulties, not to let those things distract us from our ability to still experience joy and the impact that we can make when we heal from the past and can be an inspiration to other people and helping them do the same.
Amazing, amazing, amazing. So I had to ask, looking back at all that you have been through, is there anything that you would change if you had that opportunity to?
Oh, I love that question. I love that question. I have nothing, um, nothing to correct, and probably not much that I regret. There is, if I had to make um, one thing in my life that I would do differently, probably I wish I had known about therapy sooner. I wish I had known about speaking up and going through the healing process sooner. I think it would have saved me, saved me from a lot of bad decisions. But I I I love my life. I have a quote on my website, actually, on my website. It says, be thankful for where you've been, grateful for where you are, and excited about where you're going. And I've learned to, I'm appreciative of my past. It's made, people always say it's made me the person I am today, but it's really made me the person I am today. I love the things that I can now share and say, and I even can look back and say, look at what I've overcome. Wow. That lets me know that I can make it. I can do great things. I was like, wow, I got through that. God brought me through that. Okay, I'm good. So I'm grateful for my past. Nothing to regret, little to correct.
I love that. Nothing to regret and little to correct. So I love that you shared that, because that's bringing me right into my next question. So you've gone through all of this, and like you said, you've gained from it. It has helped to create the powerful, phenomenal woman that you are today. So tell us what's new with you. What are some of the things that you're working on for those individuals who are watching us right now? They may have connected with your story and they're like, oh my goodness, I need to learn more about her. Tell them where they can find you and tell them about your books and everything.
Absolutely. So if people want to connect with, I'll be so excited if people want to connect with me. The best way to connect with me, really easy. My website is drrhondamwood.com, drrhondamwood.com. So not only is that my website, but my social media handle is also at Dr. Rhonda M. Wood. I have like 10 social media handles. So you go to any social media from Facebook to TikTok to Threads, which is the new one, at drrhondamwood.com. And what's new, so you will on there, you will see, you'll learn more about me. You'll see the services that I offer. You see, some of the you see my shows. So I have a TV show and a radio show. You'll see my books that I've written about. I have books that range from, hey, lead an impactful life, your undeniable impact. That's number one. I have a second book about understanding your passion and your purpose in life. And then I have a third book about grief. So I talk about the loss of losing my dad. But what's more exciting is that I have a online course coming out where I'm helping people, because a lot of people, they get stuck in their past hurts and pains, and they have difficulty moving forward. They have difficulty finding the reason why. But this course helps people to discover their purpose and their calling, understanding the connection between what they went through and what they're meant to do in life. And so I'm excited to launch that course. I'm excited to have people share their stories on my talk show and my radio show, or even read one of my books and get some inspiration from that. So that's kind of what I have going on at the moment, and I'm excited about that, but would love to connect with your audience for sure.
Amazing. I told you guys it's going to be phenomenal tonight. We're going to be blessed. So now that we're getting ready to go, Dr. Rhonda, I want you to share, those lasting words, if there's anything that I didn't get an opportunity to ask, but you really feel it resting on your heart and you want to leave them with this final message, I want you to go right ahead and share with them.
Sure. So I think my last words would probably just to reiterate about how God uses everything for, Romans 8:28 talks about everything works together for his good, his glory. A lot of times, obviously, when we're going through things, we don't understand what is going on. And again, even me, I was like, why is this happening? Why do bad things always happen? It's why? We question. And it's funny. I always think, now I might be telling my age, but I think about this movie called The Karate Kid, and they've had several versions since then. But one of the things that I want to leave people with is, even in The Karate Kid, when his teacher was trying to teach him karate strategies and methods, and he was giving him chores, he was saying, paint the fence and wash the car or wax the car. And there was something else he was supposed to do. And he was, unbeknownst to the character, Daniel, he was learning karate moves. But he was like, all I've been doing is being your slave and doing all this work. And I think similarly with our lives and with our relationship with God, sometimes we feel like all we're doing is just going through life and just getting up and going to work or going to school or just taking care of other, family or whatever. But God doesn't waste anything. He uses every single thing for him. Even when we make mistakes, God says, I'm just going to use that. Even when we make those detours, even when we run from him, he still uses that. So, I just want to encourage people that God's always got your back and he's always working for your good. And remembering that adversities that we experience in life are the fuel for your growth and your greatness. If you keep that in mind and how those adversities are planting seeds for you to go to the next level, I think you'll be able to look at adversities in a different light.
Amazing. So, Dr. Rhonda, I just really want to say thank you so much for sharing with us here tonight. You have been transparent. You know, you really, really, really shared with us that I'm sure that every woman who's been watching here tonight, they can relate to something that you would have shared. And I know they have been encouraged, they have been motivated, and they have been impacted by your story. So thank you so much for sharing with us. So guys, listen, if you have not done this already, I want you to go right ahead, like, share, and follow. Make sure that you have liked this video. Make sure that you have shared it with a friend. And of course, we want you to comment, and don't you dare forget to subscribe to this channel if you have not done it already, because we want to keep you abreast of what is to come. So guys, you have heard it here from Dr. Rhonda, a phenomenal story where she shared her journey of her mental health with us. And get ready for there's more to come as we continue our series on Battered Bruised, Not Broken, season 5. So we'll see you soon. Thank you for joining us tonight, and we'll see you shortly. Goodbye.
Bye.